There are moments in life that stand still, memories that carry the weight of history. For those who served, the skies were once a place of duty, courage, and sacrifice. But as time moves on, those skies can feel distant. And so, the Dream Flights is a nonprofit organization established and dedicated to honoring military veterans and seniors. Dream Flights gives an adventure of a lifetime, a flight in a Boeing Stearman biplane. As our heroes' wishes come true, the flights inspire them to share their stories. 8 of Falcons Landing residents participated in the Dream Flights event, and it was held on August 28, 2024.
Fun. Delightful.
Historic.
Terrific.
Fantastic.
Outstanding.
I'm Richard Searles. I was a military pilot, and all of my friends here are military pilots, and my father was a military pilot. In World War II, he trained in this airplane. And when I was a little boy growing up, he would tell me stories about this airplane. And when I became a military pilot myself, he took me to a museum and showed me the airplane and told me more stories. It was part of my family history that I felt would give me a closer connection to my father. It felt like old times, all the pilots getting together and talking and joshing and insulting and fake outrage, and not thinking about the flight, but getting loose ahead of the flight. The thing that was interesting to me was watching the faces of the military wives. The wives are not trained, the pilots are trained, they don't care, they know what they're doing. And here were these wives who had done this for hundreds of times over decades, and all they could do was worry and hope and trust. They had married these men that do this thing, and here they are again.
My name is Tom Owens. I'm a career Air Force fighter pilot, about 30 years in the Air Force. Followed that with working with McDonnell Douglas and Boeing and furthering the notion of modernizing the Air Force and purchasing new airplanes. The outfit that I have on just happens to be the one that I chose to wear during Dream Flights. Mm-hmm. So I have the scarf. So this is like Snoopy in his biplane in World War I. So I'll take it off because it's a little warm. But my purpose was to show off and also to maybe wear it on the airplane and have it flying in the wind. But the pilot warned me, says, no, you can't do that because it might fly back in my face and obscure my vision. So I wasn't able to take it along with me. So anyway, this is my old Vietnam era fighter pilot shirt. So I thought this was appropriate to wear. I'll tell you exactly how it started. Phil Walsh, who's the president of our MOA chapter, made an announcement at our monthly meeting. He said, we got this information from Dream Flights offering a ride in an open cockpit vintage airplane. Is anybody interested? You're kidding. My hand just shot up. And I looked around and mine was the only hand that was up, but there was no doubt in my mind that if that was possible, then I would want to do it. And so that's how it all started. And I had a few conversations with the Dream Flights people, and one thing led to another, and then we succeeded.
So I get started. My name's Daryl Fisher, and I'm going to be your pilot today. Unless you kick me out, and then you're on your own. And we're here for one reason only, and that's to say thank you to our United States veterans for everything you've given us and done for us. Because without your efforts and everything you've done, we wouldn't have the ability to do this. And so we appreciate that. And I am not a veteran, but this is my small way of saying thank you for what you've done. So today it's all about you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay?
When we got to the airport and we got off of the bus and went in, the thing that impressed me the most was how many people there were. All the people who were there, who has devoted themselves all day long to make this a once-in-a-lifetime experience for me. The humility of all of those people. Half the staff of Community Life was there. The Dream Flight team were there. All for us. And our best days were 60, 70 years ago, and here they were to revive them for us.
Anybody was questioning my piloting credentials, I did not get them out of a Cracker Jack box. I've been doing this a while. In fact, my grandfather bought one of these airplanes in 1946. And my grandmother went on to become a pilot. And so I've been really blessed with the aviation background. And it's been a wonderful experience. So I'm going to be flying today. Do you have questions?
What year was this one built?
I believe this one's in 1942. This airplane, not this airplane, but this type of airplane was built between 1940 and 1945. Its sole purpose in life was to train World War II pilots. So you show up at 18, never seen an airplane, been in an airplane, you would start your first lesson in this type of airplane. So this is amazing because these airplanes worked in World War II. Then they became crop sprayers. So they trained America to fly in World War II, won the war. They fed America through, spraying crops. Then they went into air shows and entertained America, and they're still working today, giving back to you guys. So it's the only piece of military equipment I know that's actively working 80 years later.
My name is Joe Miller, and I'm retired Army after almost 30 years. I flew quite a bit in Vietnam as an observer in the backseat of an L-19, which is kind of like a Piper Cub on steroids. That was fun, but I've just always thought a lot about flying and liked it. I'm not afraid to fly or any of those kind of things. When this opportunity came up, the Dream Flight, and I got an idea of the airplane I was going to be flying, and I was really excited because I had always wanted to fly in a two-wing open cockpit airplane, and I got that opportunity through Dream Flight.
So we're going to do about a 15-minute flight. It's a beautiful flight, and we'll go out. If we're taking off this way, we'll go straight out, hang a right, go over to the Potomac, and we'll kind of fly down the Potomac and then line up to come back in. Perfect. Yeah. Today's about doing something different. Has anybody flown in a Stearman? So none of you have done this, so you're going to get a new experience. And what the heck? I mean, we're at the airport. It's a beautiful day. We got great people. Doesn't get much better than this.
It felt like old times, the pre-flight briefing that we had all gone through many times, and that was part of the fun. You could pretend and imagine that you were back in your glory days, and he was going over altitudes and headings and flight plans that we would do for a typical mission.
I was disappointed though when he told me that he would not have a stick in the front seat so I could fly. He says, we particularly don't want pilots to have a stick in the front seat because they might do something wrong with this airplane and we don't want them to do. His delivery and his warmth and his generosity was something to behold.
Put a stick in the front?
No. For safety purposes. Well, are you a pilot?
Yeah.
Well, You're the ones we really don't trust.
Let me show you this one. Here, watch this. Hold my beer.
Ray O'Mara, 31 years in the Air Force. I flew B-52s, FB-111s, and KC-135s, the main airplanes, but I also flew the F-15, the F-16, C-5, the C-130, and the C-141. And I was on exchange with the Royal Air Force. I got to fly the Buccaneer, the Jaguar, and the Harrier. So I have a very lively career.
I really want you to come out because be part of the experience. We like fingerprints on the airplanes. Just be gentle, just be gentle. Because it's really, I view it as we're a custodian. That airplane is yours, it's for you. You paid the price for it. So you need to enjoy it. You know, it doesn't need to be behind barriers.
I saw some signatures on the empennage back on the vertical stabilizer.
Every World War II veteran we fly gets to sign it.
Okay.
Yeah.
My name is Joe Sestero, and I've been here at Falcons Landing now since 2019. My background is VMI graduate. Spent 4 years active duty in the Air Force, but my wife couldn't handle it, so I got out and flew in the reserves for another 19 years and then got a real job. I've been a docent at the Aerospace Museum going on 15 years, and when I took that dream flight, it was really a dream flight for me because the Boeing Stearman at the Stephen F. Udvar-Hazy Museum is one of the first artifacts I discuss as I commence my tours on Fridays. I'm a Friday docent. And I'm always saying to myself, gee, I wish I could get a ride in one of these. And the dream came true when Daryl and his group from Dream Flight offered us that opportunity. So.
We did a mission in 2021 called Operation September Freedom. We flew 891 World War II veterans in 61 days.
Wow.
In 41 states, or 47 states. We had 6 airplanes, all 6 of our airplanes working for 61 straight days. And it was the most amazing, the last mission for World War II veterans in history. This airplane was involved in it. And I got to fly all 61 days. I just told my wife, I'm not in the military, but just look at this as my deployment. I'll see you in 62 days. But that's what goes for. No, I know, which is great. At least that I know of.
My name is Frank Hall. I'm a retired Army officer, was in 26 years, and then worked for some different government agencies. My main thought about Daryl is that what a wonderful group of people. And he was so thorough and so encouraging, and I thought he was almost more enthusiastic than the people that were there. I mean, it's just a wonderful group of people, and they're all donating these times that you can go on these flights. So it's just amazing what these people are doing for the veterans. I mean, the people were so talented. Some of the officers or people that were helping us were actually active duty, and they were just doing this as a volunteer basis part-time. So you're not going to find a more wonderful group of people than the people who are running this program.
I have a question. Very important question. Who's first?
Tom.
All right.
Tom is.
I'll go second.
I saw that airplane and it was in perfect museum condition. There was not a flaw or blemish. There was no dust, no oil smudges, no repairs. It was perfect. You can see your reflection in the skin of that airplane. It was magnificent.
the fact that it was, in fact, a Boeing airplane, a Stearman built by Boeing, warmed my heart even more because I worked for Boeing for a long time. And prior to that, I flew Boeing and McDonnell Douglas airplanes, F-4s and F-15s. They were built by McDonnell Douglas and subsequently Boeing. They merged. But it was a good old Boeing Stearman aircraft, and I thought, awesome, absolutely awesome. It was interesting because I spent most of the time that we were on the ground, I spent kind of looking at the instruments and trying to remember what everything meant. He did say, keep your feet off the rudder pedal, and you don't have a stick, and you don't have a scarf flying in my face, and so we're ready to go.
It was a radial piston engine. There's no cowling to suppress the sound. The engine is right there. And so you get the noise of it and the visuals. You get a big puff of smoke and the propeller starts to turn and it hesitates and it doesn't quite catch and then it does. The smell of the fuel. It's 100 octane aviation gas and it smells pretty clean. Military pilots are used to JP4 jet fuel. They don't use it anymore. It has a particular smell, and the smell of fuel on the flight line is something that pilots remember.
There.
I had this thought, kind of came out of nowhere, because it certainly wasn't pre-thought, to use FaceTime and call my wife. And lo and behold, it worked. And so I chatted with her, and she's exclaiming because she's got it on Face, and she's passing the phone around to everybody else. Like, you might have even seen it.
Yep.
We disconnected there, and I called my granddaughter in Indianapolis, and her face just lit up like, what in the world are you doing?
What's the date?
28.
28, okay.
I've had that on my calendar for a long time.
Yeah, I know, you guys, I get out here and I forget what day it is. It's just a great day. You know, that's what I think it is. Try that on.
Yeah, I'm trying living at Falcons Landing, trying to remember what day it is.
Big smile.
If anybody doesn't want to take their turn, I'll take it for them.
Yeah, we have one right here.
That's a sales pitch for lining them up.
Yeah.
Ray. Are you a pilot?
Yes. What?
No. Whoa. Let's get that straight. You're always a pilot.
Right.
You're just not current, right?
Amazing.
We can't communicate with the regulations, so you're just going to give me a thumbs up. Because of the cylinder? Oh, yeah. Need to go back early.
Should I pull my hearing aids out? I'll give it.
They should be fine. When we put your helmet on, if they're not getting feedback, they'll be perfect. 90% of the time they're fine. If they do get feedback, it's we should be fine. Most of the time they work out okay. It is.
Okay.
In the unlikely event of emergency, I will give you instructions.
Okay.
You just need to follow me. All right.
Put your head between your legs and just rest, right?
Well, not similar.
Once you get to
That's funny. You get right to the point, Ray. He gets right to the point. All right. You ready to go?
Yep.
All right.
It reminded me of what they call the FIP program, Flight Instruction Program, which I took in Air Force ROTC when I was going to Newark College of Engineering in New Jersey. And we got 30 hours of flying in a PA-18 Super Cub in preparation for going in the Air Force, and I got my pilot license there. So I thought about it. That was the first tail dragger I flew. And the Stearman was the second tail dragger.
They were very personally interested in us, in our stories. They had made it their mission to give this experience to old people. And they would take notes about what we were saying. One of them asked me, during the flight, I wore my father's fighter pilot watch. It's 66 years old.
B-52 pilots?
Yes.
52.
Yeah.
But the air war ended when I was in bombers. And my father had one combat mission in a B-52 over North Vietnam, which is one more than I.
Your father did?
Yes. Well, he was a fighter pilot, but
Right.
he had to run the air war in Laos, and he insisted on a joyride in the B-52 of combat mission.
Really?
So he has a patch with one mission.
Oh my goodness. That's amazing that the father and a son both in the same airplane or even have an opportunity in the same airplane. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Wow.
His watch was his dad's flight watch.
Was it really?
He gave it to me when I went into the academy at 65 years old. It's his fighter pilot watch from the 1950s.
That's a bad.
So I had to give it an initiation.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's cool.
Put some more flight time.
We got to get Nicole. Let's get a picture of that and send that in of the little story because that's really amazing.
It is.
That's really amazing.
I wore the watch for him. This whole thing for me was a further deeper connection with my father. He died 3 years ago at the age of 100. He was a fighter pilot all his life. They were very good and very careful about how we got into the airplane, and Dave Curran had me watch a video about how they got a 94-year-old man into the cockpit. And so I watched that a couple of times to make sure I did not look like a 94-year-old man. And how many people were helping us get in. I tried to look like I didn't need any help. And I think there were 3 or 4 people part of the process of getting people into the airplane. And of course, Alex was there filming the whole process. The pilot and the other pilot who was the ground crew, they were talking to one another, checklist items to prepare for engine start and to have the engine start. And those are the kinds of things that we did as military pilots. The tail. I went back to the tail and I looked at the vertical stabilizer at the rudder. And for this airplane, if you were a World War II veteran, you could sign your name on the tail and make the date and a few notes about yourself, and I read them. And one of them was a Tuskegee Airman. And my backside is in the same cockpit as a Tuskegee Airman. Wow, that's a big deal for me. The engine has started. We're going down the taxiway to number 1 for takeoff. And the interesting thing that isn't well understood is this airplane is a tailwheel airplane. The nose is up very high. You cannot see in front of you. So what you have to do, taxiing down the taxiway, is to swerve back and forth, zigzag, so that the pilot can get a little glimpse, just a glimpse, as he turns to see what's going on ahead of him. That is very strange. And that's one of the stories my father told me that he had to do not only in that trainer in 1942, but also in the fighter planes he flew in World War II, the P-47 and P-51, nose high, little forward visibility. He had to taxi that way. And then there's a moment when the airplane starts to fly. You leave that world behind and you have different obligations and different problems to think about. Daryl was thinking about. And that's something you always feel, no matter what airplane you're in, you're always feeling for that moment when you're flying. Took off to the north and we turned right east to head for the river. I think we got to an altitude of about, the pattern altitude is about 1,000 feet. I think we went up maybe 1,500. And Daryl said he'd fly us down the river. And I took a few pictures, not too many because I wanted to savor the moment. We went pretty close to right over the top of where we all live. And I raised my camera up and turned it around and I took a picture of me. And I knew that Daryl would be in the background. And when I got home, I looked and I saw that the smile on Daryl's face was as big as mine. I thought that was kind of fun. I'll cry myself to sleep.
Yes.
That was fabulous. That was fabulous.
Well, I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
I kept saying to myself, gee whiz, Joe, you're going to actually take off and land in a conventional landing gear. When I first saw the plane, I was comparing it with our blue-painted a Boeing Stearman at the Stephen F. Udvar-Hazy Museum, and I knew that, well over probably 10, 15,000 of those birds were made with different engine configurations. So I was just comparing the paint jobs and the overall layout of the plane and where it was.
Oh, look at that! He looks like an aviator. Yeah, now.
He looks like Top Gun.
Yeah. I'm hearing some music.
I was taught from the beginning of my flight, and especially when I was flying tankers, a mid-air collision can ruin your whole day. So I was constantly scanning like this. It just came natural to me. And I pointed down there, and he saw a chopper down there, and he went like this in the mirror. And after the flight, he said, you haven't forgotten some of the things you were taught, have you? I said, no. And it was a thrill to me to have him sign a hat for me, put it on my head, and wish me good luck. And I invited him and his group to come to the museum for a general tour sometime. And he said he might take me up on that. But it was just a great day, and we all enjoyed it very, very much.
previous flying experience when I was in the Boy Scouts in high school when I was in Japan. And they asked, there was a beautiful place called Tachikawa Air Force Base. And they said, beautiful view of Mount Fuji and everything, And they, hey, how would you scouts like to go on a flight? And so they put us on these planes and flew us around. And I think they purposely did that. And the way they flew it, so we'd all throw up. So everybody got sick. So I was concerned about maybe getting sick. And my son's a pilot and for Southwest. And he said, no, Dad, just don't look down and you won't get sick. So I took his advice.
Part of the Alumni Association. You got to come out next year and cheer everybody on.
Okay.
We'll be here.
I'll do that.
Yeah, you'll do it too. Well, yes, you've got to do the same thing.
Right.
You're up. Hey, I was going to tell you. Did you ever ride in an O2?
Yeah.
The twin engine, push pull.
010?
Yeah, it was 10 or whatever.
No, that was an Air Force.
Okay, all right.
We weren't allowed there.
That was beyond the Army.
It was a little difficult to get in the cockpit of that airplane, but we all did it, all worked together as a team, and it got done. So it was a beautiful beginning to what was going to be a wonderful flight. I was just kind of reliving the enjoyment of being in that airplane and having a dream come true, truly a dream come true, by flying in an open cockpit bi-wing airplane.
It was the whole package. It was the whole day. From the relationship with the pilot and the dream flight people. I had several conversations with the Dream Flight team. Going into the terminal there where we were, it was just all so welcoming. But the highlight, besides the flight itself, was the whole day.
All right, in my summation, I would just say it was a terrific day for the Falcons Landing Group, who went out to Leesburg and had the opportunity to fly with Darrell and the Dream Flight Group in his Boeing Stearman.
I encourage all of the residents eligible to partake of these flights. It's an unforgettable thing, and I think that was witnessed by the number of actual pilots that were flying, and they seemed to be just as excited as I was.
It was historic for aviation history, flying in that vintage airplane. It was historic for my family history, for myself and for my father. It was historic for the relationship I have with my friends who are also pilots, and historic for the other people who had flown in that airplane also.
Just outstanding. Much more than I had anticipated. So much more. So to that standpoint, it was the ultimate, if you will, ultimate experience for an old man.